Hello, how are ya? And welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do the end of the year book tag. I've seen Destiny Sidwell do this. I think she started it, question mark. I've seen Sarah Caroli do this. I've seen other smaller creators do this, so I figured why not take a whack at it myself? I am currently filming right in front of the biggest windows in my house and I'm just like so embarrassed. Nobody look at me. Okay, let's get started. The first question is most disappointing read of the year. I'm gonna take that as like something that I was excited for and then it disappointed me. So, number one, The Hating Game. I know that that book is not new. It's like one of the OG popular book talk books, but I read it for the first time this year and I was so disappointed. Like that book, I will say, Joshua Templeman, so good. Main character, girly, I don't even remember what her name was, but she was so freaking weird. Like she was just so odd, like quirky to a fault where I was like, I cannot get with you. Like I don't understand. I'm not relating with you on this, you know? It was not my favorite. And like the Smurfs, why were there so many Smurfs? There didn't need to be, really no romance book ever needs Smurfs in my opinion. I think we could leave out the Smurfs. Also, once again, my cat has decided that every time I turn on the camera, it is now time to eat kibble as loudly as possible. So if you hear that, that's what that is. The second book that seriously disappointed me was You Again. If you watched my November wrap-up, you heard me talk about this book. I was really excited for it. I was really excited for it. Oh. Do you want to be in the video? Yeah! Say hi! Okay. Now go do something else, okay? Please? I really wanted to like this book. I did, but it was so messy and convoluted. The timeline was a mess. I couldn't root for the couple. I did not like it. It was very disappointing, and that made me sad because it was a new release, and it's not often that I just like get a new release right when it comes out, especially when it's an author I've never read before. That was kind of wild of me. And I didn't like it, and I probably wouldn't read any of her other books because I didn't like this one so much. Disappointing. Okay, Underdog Book of the Year. This book did not come out this year, but that doesn't matter because these are books that I've read in 2023. So, I'm gonna say The Radleys by Matt Haig. I love that book so much, and I have never heard anybody talk about it. I believe it came out in like 2010 or 2009. It's a little bit older, so maybe that's why I've never heard anybody talk about it. I've only heard people talk about Midnight Library by Matt Haig. But I loved it. It's a book about a family of British vampires. That's so good. Like, that's so good. It was such a good book, and it felt like one that I was like, people need to be reading this. People need to be talking about this because it's so good. A book that was overhyped, I have two for this one. First of them being Lessons in Chemistry. I will say, it's not that I didn't enjoy this book. I did. I think I gave it like 4 stars. Maybe at this point I'd give it 3. It wasn't bad by any means, but the way that people hyped this up made me think it was gonna be like the greatest book ever. Like it won awards. I think like this is a Barnes & Noble special edition. Like I don't know what I thought it was gonna be, but I didn't think it was gonna be what it actually was. I feel like the name Lessons in Chemistry made me think that it was gonna be some sort of like Ali Hazelwood style women in STEM romance. I quickly learned that it is not a romance. It's a literary fiction. I feel like this story is very serious. It's sad, and I couldn't totally relate to the main character. She's really interesting. Like, she's not unlikable, but I also wouldn't call her likable. So I would say that this one was overhyped in my opinion. Like, if you want to read this, I would say read the synopsis first to see whether or not you want to put yourself through the emotional roller coaster that is this book. But yeah, I think it was overhyped. Second book that I think was overhyped is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I actually read that one this month, so I haven't talked about it yet. I will talk about it in my December wrap-up. But I feel like everyone read that a couple years ago. I believe it came out in 2020, and everyone was reading it like last year and the year before. I didn't love that book. I didn't, and I can't really see what people like about it so much, because I will say, I just talked about the Radleys. I'm going to talk about Twilight in this video. I love a good vampire book. I love a good vampire movie. But I am pro-vampire, and that book was about a very bad vampire, and I didn't enjoy that. It wasn't fun. Like I've said before, when I read a book, bare minimum, I want it to be fun. And I was not having a fun time reading that book. And like I said, it just left me wondering, like, what is the hype? Why were people talking about this? I don't know. So I feel like it was overhyped. Next up, we got fave book couple of the year, and I have literally so many of these. I'm just gonna rapid fire through them because I will talk about most of these books in more detail to answer a lot of the other questions. So we've got Elsie and Jack from Love Theoretically, Fern and Will from Meet Me at the Lake, Harriet and Wynne from Happy Place, Piper and Brendan from It Happened One Summer, Anastasia and Nate from Icebreaker, Violet and Xaden from Fourth Wing, and last but certainly not least, Edward and Bella from Twilight, okay? They're the blueprint, all of them. Well, not really, because a lot of them, there's troubling things in their relationships, but they're just, those are the couples that I like, that I think about, and I'm like, they're so cute, you know? Those ones. Okay, favorite main characters of the year. So I'm gonna do a couple series first and then 2 random books at the end. First of all, Throne of Glass. Let me just say, I am not done with the Throne of Glass series yet. No spoilers in the comments, please. I have only completely finished Assassin's Blade to Queen of Shadows. I am still working on the tandem read. We're not going to talk about that. And then I've got Kingdom of Ash afterwards. That's for 2024 Hope. Well, she can worry about all of that. So what I will say is the characters that I have met and gotten to know in that series up until now, so good. Like, obviously, like, there is the main character, but like those are ensemble casts, you know, like, which I believe every Sarah J. Maas book is. It's just like she cares about the supporting characters, and then they're not little supporting characters anymore. Like, they are all main characters. So the Throne of Glass characters. Then we have the characters from the Thursday Murder Club series. This is the second book. I don't have the first book, so I'm just gonna hold this one up. But oh my gosh, I think about these characters all the time. The 4 main old people that this series is about, they're so cute. They're so cute, and I want to be friends with them, and I do think about them all the time. I love them so much. Next up, we've got Cersei from Circe. I loved her character. I loved watching her grow and change throughout the book. I felt like she could be relatable to like literally any woman, I feel. Like, I just feel like she was such a good main character to follow. Like, I feel like you're rooting for her the entire time, and like that's what you want, right? You want a main character you can root for. So, Cersei, one of my favorite main characters I've read this year. And then I would have to say Halewise from the Book of Gothel. She is essentially Mother Gothel. This book went through her life and how she gets to the point where she is like Mother Gothel that you know from Rapunzel's story. And same as Cersei, honestly. Like, I feel like she's so relatable, so down to earth. I feel like you're rooting for her the whole time. Like, the sad moments in the book, like, your heart breaks for her and with her. I felt like she was just such a solid main character, and it really makes you like feel for her and give so much depth to that story. Speaking of which, the next question is a book that surprised you, and the Book of Gothel would be my answer for that, because I had no expectations going in. I mean, I thought it would be interesting because I knew it was just like Mother Gothel's backstory essentially, but oh my gosh, that book was so good. I think about it all the time. Like, I I wish that I could go back in time and reread it for the first time again. And I want more people to read it. I think it was amazing. So good. It's getting darker. Okay. New favorite author that you discovered in 2023, I would have to say Richard Osman, the author of the Thursday Murder Club series. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I will read anything that man writes because I think that he is so good at writing cozy mysteries with compelling characters and like weaving a bunch of stories in to one book and you like not being confused. Like that's not the easiest thing to do, and I think he excels at that. So Richard Osman, and then Ashley Poston. Like I read The Dead Romantics and The 7-Year Slip this year, and those are both so good. I feel like she's like an Emily Henry, Ali Hazelwood type of author for me. Like Instabuy, I will read your next book immediately. She actually announced her next book on Instagram the other day, and I'm just like, I'm so excited. So those two authors. Happiest read of the year, I would have to say Happy Place. Like that book, I knew I'd love it going into it because it's Emily Henry, and I literally smiling the entire time. Like I'm kicking my feet. It's so good. And I would recommend it. I would recommend it to anybody. It's so good. And then I would also say Twilight. That's another book that I read this month. I'll talk about it more in my December wrap-up video. I am a big fan of Twilight. I've been a big fan of the movies for years, but this is the first time I'm ever reading through the books. And wow. And that one made me so happy because Twilight makes me so happy. Like just every year I watch the Twilight movies and then I think about Twilight for so long after that, and it just makes me so happy. So yeah. Most frustrating book that you read in 2023, I'd probably have to say One Italian Summer. I had read a couple not so great reviews of that going into it, but for some reason I still decided to get it from the library. And wow, I did not like that book. Like the setting, beautiful, so good. It's Italy, of course it's good. But the plot, what? Like there were so many plot holes. Like there's time travel, but they don't explain it. And you have to explain time travel. Like you can't just be like, that is what happened. That's how it is. And nobody wants answers. Huh? I also just think that the main character was a bad person. Like there are things that she does in that book and I'm like, I would not do that. And I think most people would think that that choice makes you not the best person, you know? So, I don't know. Hot take. One Italian Summer. I would not recommend it. Okay, I know that turning the light on just made it like super yellow, but it's getting so dark. It's not even 4 p.m. and it's getting so dark. It's been raining all day today, so we're going with the overhead light. Sorry. Best adaptation of the year. So there have been a lot of adaptations that have come out this year that I either read the book or I watched The Thing, and I did not do both. So I don't have a timely answer. Like I can't say Daisy Jones and the Six or The Summer I Turned Pretty because I didn't read those books. I didn't even watch the show Daisy Jones and the Six. So it's not going to be from this year, but my answer is Twilight because I have read Twilight this year and I've watched the movie and I love both. Masterpieces. Is it actually good media, like objectively? No, but I love it, so don't hate on it, you know? Longest book that I read this year, Iron Flame, 884 pages. I did not expect Iron Flame to be that long. That felt mean to me that Rebecca Yarros just decided like, Fourth Wing, let's just double it, double the size. And everyone has to read it because they want to find out what's going to happen. So they're going to just read this giant book. I wasn't ready for that. But I did it. So that's the longest book that I read this year. The shortest book that I read this year is No Matter the Wreckage by Sarah Kay. It was 143 pages. It's a collection of poems. It is my favorite collection of poems. I have read this book, I think, 5 times. I love Sarah Kay so much. If you want to check her out, look her up on YouTube. She normally does spoken word poetry, and then this is her collection of a lot of those poems. I'm obsessed with her. She's so good. She's so good And yeah, I read this every year and it makes me cry normally. So you should read it too, and also cry, maybe. Favorite book covers of the year, Icebreaker. Look at how cute that is. Are you looking? It's so cute. Like I've said before, this illustrator, Lenny Kaufman, has illustrated a bunch of specifically romance book covers, and I love every single cover that she does. Her art style is just adorable. So Icebreaker, obviously. Also, love Theoretically by Ellie Hazelwood. I love all of Ellie Hazelwood's book covers, and I'm so excited for the new book she's coming out with in 2024, and those covers are so cute. So, love Theoretically. Then also, all of the new covers for the Throne of Glass books. I'm not a huge fan of the old covers. I just think that they look a little bit dated, but the new covers, so good, so good. Also Happy Place, because I love all of Emily Henry's covers. So, and it's bright pink, how cute. So summer, love that one. A book you haven't stopped thinking about. As I've said, I haven't stopped thinking about the Book of Gothel. I haven't stopped thinking about The Radleys. And I haven't stopped thinking about Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book, oh my gosh, I was not expecting what I got from this book, and I also feel like I haven't heard that many people talk about it, but it was so good, so unexpected. And I do think about it frequently because the concept is just so interesting. I feel like I can't talk about it because it will spoil it, but I think about this book a lot too. Cringiest book that I read this year, that would have to be a tie between What You Gonna Do by Avery Flynn and A Holly Jolly Ever After by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. This is another book I read this month. I will talk about it in more detail later. But wow, these are some of the worst books I've ever read. Like, I know that that sounds so incredibly mean, but I was not ready for like how much I cringed during both of those books. I will say, as just like a rule of thumb, I don't think that spice can save a crappy plot. And I think that's what both of these books tried to do, one more so than the other. No, no, not good, did not like them, much cringe, wouldn't recommend. Unpopular book that I loved. I'm gonna say Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I'm not saying that people hate this book, but I feel like this was an anticipated read because a lot of people really liked Every Summer After, as did I. I love that book. But when people read Meet Me at the Lake, I feel like a lot of them didn't like it. And I definitely think that there are problems with it. I don't think it's perfect. I gave it 4 stars, not 5. But I really liked it, and it made me a little bit sad that a lot of people were just like, no. Like, some people even DNF'd it, and I was like, okay, well, I like it, so yeah, Meet Me at the Lake. What were the highest and lowest rated books you read this year on Goodreads, and do you agree? So, the highest rated book that I read this year was Fourth Wing. It is rated 4.63. Do I agree? No, I love Fourth Wing, but do I think that it deserves the highest rating out of all the books that I've read this year? No, I don't. And I especially think that after reading Iron Flame. I feel like Iron Flame highlighted the cracks in Fourth Wing for me. I feel like it really showed that, like, I was just excited to read a new fantasy with dragons, but the writing is actually not the best. So I don't agree. I think it's great, but not the best. And then what was the lowest rated book? That one is What You Gonna Do with 3.13 stars. I completely agree with that. I do think that it should be the lowest of all the books that I've read this year, but I actually think it deserves an even lower score than that because I gave it a lower score than that. I just think it wasn't good. Sue me. Next question is favorite quotes of the year. I personally am not an annotation girly because writing in my books scares me. Maybe one day I will be, but because of that, there are a lot of good quotes that, like, I read and was like, oh, that's amazing. But like they've slipped my mind because I did not highlight them or write them down. So the only quotes that I remember loving that I have like access to are quotes from books that I read on my Kindle, because you can just highlight it real easy in your Kindle. And then you can view all of those later, even through Goodreads. So Happy Place, such good quotes, such good quotes. Let me just read you one, just one, okay? I rarely said his name though. It felt too much like an incantation, as if it would light me up from the inside and he'd see how much I wanted him, how all day long my mind caught on him like a scar in a record, how without even trying, I knew exactly where he was at all times, could likely cover my eyes, get spun around, and still point to him on the first try. That is so cute. Like, don't even try to tell me that that's not cute. Emily Henry wins. Like, she just wins. Happy Place. Such good quotes. There are also a lot of good quotes from the Throne of Glass books, but I can't read any of those because they always give away spoilers. Like, that series, you straight up can't talk about it. Like, you can't talk about it at all because it will give spoilers. So, just know, there are a lot of good quotes from those books too. Book with the most unique concept, I would have to say maybe In Another Life. I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you what makes it unique because it would ruin it. Like, if you just read the back of the book, you're like, oh, okay, interesting. But you're not ready. You're not ready for what happens. And that's good. That's how I like it. Like, I honestly like going into books blind a lot of the time. And I would like highly suggest doing that for this book, because when the thing happens, I was just like, what's going on? You know, when you just like flip back a couple pages, you're like, did I space out? Did I read something wrong? No, you didn't. It's really good. And then it's like, I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it. Read it. Seriously, it's so good. Book that I would reread, honestly, there are so many. Let me list them. I would reread the Book of Gothel. I would reread the Thursday Murder Club series eventually. Obviously, you need a little bit of time. I would reread maybe In Another Life. The Radleys. I'd probably reread It Happened One Summer. I would reread Happy Place. Obviously, my poetry book, No Matter the Wreckage, I'm gonna read it again next year. Eventually, I could reread the Throne of Glass series. Because it's that good. I would reread Love, theoretically. I would reread The Paris Apartment and probably The Hunting Party. Both of those are Lucy Foley books. I don't know that I could bring myself to reread Fourth Wing, to be honest. I don't know that I could. I would reread Icebreaker. I would reread The 7-Year Slip and Circe. I would reread The Dead Romantics. Loath to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. I would reread that. I would reread Payback's a Witch, Twilight. I think that's all of them. There are so many books I would reread. I would love to reread a couple books next year because I just haven't gotten to do that yet. But there are some that I have my eye on. Okay, 2023 Goodreads reading goal reflection and 2024 reading goal. This year I said that I was gonna read 30 books. So far I've read 64. I do believe I can sneak a couple more in there before the year is up. I am so happy that I surpassed my reading goal. Low-key, I knew that I would, and I like it that way. Like, for 2024, I would probably set it at like 40, because there's nothing more sad than when you set like a realistic reading goal, like I think I can read this many, and then you don't hit that. Oh my gosh, awful, so sad. Also, Goodreads doesn't help. Like, it will tell you you're 5 books behind for your goal, and it's just like, thanks, that's not really encouraging. So I would probably set it at like 40 next year, because I don't want to be sad because I didn't make it, and I don't know what's gonna happen next year. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to read 64 books next year. I might not. So let's not get too crazy. After 2023 reading, what are you prioritizing in 2024 reading wise? I want to go as hard as I can. Like, I would love to be able to read more than 64 books. This is my personal best. Now, I know a lot of people might be like, that's not even that crazy. Remember, I do have a full-time job still. So I can't be reading like 140 books like these other book girlies are. I would love to be able to do that one day, but 2023 has not been the time for that. So I would like to read as many books as I can. I would love to beat this year's record. I would love to continue finishing the series that I've already started. I would love to start more series. In 2022, I had made it my goal to read like as many super popular fiction and romance and thriller mystery books that I could. It was like honestly my first foray into reading fiction as an adult. As a teenager, I read a lot of nonfiction and like just books for school and stuff like that. So last year was like my year where I was like, okay, what's popular? What are the girlies talking about? I'm gonna read those books. So I would love to continue to do that because there's still a lot that I haven't read. So that's a goal for 2024. And then I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not going to buy any physical books in 2024. I have committed to doing like an overall no buy for 2024. Not just books, but like literally anything that's not necessary. I want to prioritize saving money. So books are a part of that. I have an extensive Kindle TBR. If you've seen my Kindle TBR video, you'd know that. And then I am sure that I will probably get gift cards at some points in the year that I can use to buy Kindle books. And then there's always the library. So I want to finish my physical TBR by the end of 2024. I would love that. That would make me so happy. Those are the goals for 2024. All right, that's it. That is the end of the year book tag. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below, let me know what were some of your favorite books, some of your least favorite books that you read this year. If you like this video, give it a like. If you would like to, please subscribe to my channel. It would make me so happy. And I will see you hopefully next Friday. Bye!